Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business. What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Hip Hop Now Podcast. I am your host, Vegas. This is another episode where we're reviewing the final season of Wu-Tang, an American Saga. I hate that title so long. An American Saga. African-American Saga. It's the final season. We've been reviewing episode after episode. I decided to bring some guests on. And today, we're going to represent the ladies of hip-hop. I got with me a very special guest, Publicist, hip-hop fan, Wu fan for show. What's good, man?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Happy to have you. You know, we're all Wu fans, so let's just get right into it. Let's start from the beginning for you. When you first heard of Wu-Tang Clan, whether it was an instrumental, a beat, a video, a song, what were your thoughts when you first heard from them and eventually their debut album?
So I have never told this story before, so this is fun.
Okay.
I literally was in Germany. I was in Germany the first time, Heidelberg, Germany to be exact, and my neighbor was from New York. And one night, my neighbors were young, like they were like my age or whatever, but my parents, you know, I was there with my parents, they were in the military. So my neighbors were young, they were like my age, so I used to hang out with them. And one night, it was him and his wife, but I was close with both. Him and his wife, we're standing in the hallway and I walk out, and the way our apartment was kind of weird. Like it was like a maid's quarters, I guess that's what they called it. So I had my own little apartment outside of my parents' apartment. So I come out to go into the house, you know, where my parents are, and they're like standing outside, and he was leaving. So he was like, come fuck with your boy. We on our way out. So I go outside, and it's like his friends are in a car, and they're listening to Wu-Tang. I'd never heard it, didn't know who they were. You know, Germany, we're behind. So I'm like, who is this? Like, they're like, yo, this Wu-Tang Clan, y'all don't know that. And so it was the hype of them that, of course, made me hype. But I'm like, what? And so I had to, go to the record store the next day and buy the tape because was CD. Because I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? I had to hear who this was. And so when I heard it, I was mind blown, and I still couldn't grasp the fact that it was that many people in the group. And so it wasn't until I came back stateside, for school or whatever, where I really realized like the impact that they had. Because I was in Germany, so it was, word of mouth type of situation. It wasn't like, you could hear it on the radio and so forth. But when I got stateside, I was like, wow, okay.
Did you think when you heard it over there first, did you think it might have been like, oh, this is something they into, but probably when I get home, it won't be that big of a deal?
I didn't really know, to be honest, but like when you over there and somebody tell you about something, you just hop onto it. You figure they were stateside, last. I've been here for however long, so let me listen to what they had to say. And it was one of those situations. I was like, let me listen to what they have to say. Same thing I learned about D'Angelo like that and Illmatic.
Wow.
Yep.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I'm getting my D'Angelo on a little bit. Can't sing, y'all, but
I like it. Hey, it look good to me. It's all fresh, you know what I'm saying? Late.
So when you first heard they were going to have a show about Wu-Tang Clan done by Hulu, what were your thoughts? And what were your thoughts when you saw the show or the first episode?
Okay, so when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was still kind of like, I don't know. And then when I saw that Dave East was playing meth, I was like, okay, wait a minute. We got something here. Like, I might be into this. And the first episode, I'm not going to lie, I actually called Power and was like, hey, y'all shout out Ghost House like that? And he said it was dramatized for television. That's all I got. It was, it's TV.
Right.
But I was a little shocked. I was shocked. the dynamic between them all. Like you would have never known that they didn't like each other and they were at odds. And yeah, that blew me for a little bit. I still was stuck on that.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like I said, with a couple of other people, even though, some of it is dramatized for television,
Right.
you look at how unified they are, and you would have never thought like there were all these different divisions. This one cool with this one beefing with that one. But somehow, some way, I guess because of where they're from, they were united. Because I mentioned in one of the other episodes before, like when it came to to New York City, 5 boroughs and all that, Staten Island didn't register,
Right.
at all. So they had to be united just because they weren't being looked at as a place to even be thought of, especially in the hip hop side of things. So yeah. Now, what did you think about the first 2 seasons? I think I already know, but you could tell.
So the first season, it started off slow for me. I think that I always tell people who watch it now, don't go into it trying to figure out which Wu character is Wu, because you'll just be messed up and you'll be lost. But once I got out of that mindset, because I feel like I was doing that for like the first 15, 20 minutes into the first episode, I was like, all right, this is too much. Let me just watch. And once you watch, and I think they did a really great job at developing the characters that were there the first season.
Right.
Some didn't jump on until later. So they did a good job at developing the characters that were there. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, but it wasn't until like the end of the season when they started really getting into some stuff like Cherie and Ghost and what else was wowing me? Meth all together. I didn't know he lacrosse, and I didn't know any of that about him.
Right.
There were some elements there where it was like, wow, I didn't know this. And so that made me want to tune in. And then second season, that was a roller coaster for me. It was like, even though you knew what the outcome was going to be, I still was on the journey with them. And I love them more now than I did before. It's like you went through this, like all these adversities, y'all were at odds, and still this became such a dynamic part of hip hop. Like I'm still like, yeah, I'm in awe. And still. And I literally just rewatched season 1 and 2 with a friend. I put them on to it and they started watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, I am. And I watched it. So I recently just finished 1 and 2.
That's dope. And I'm glad you said, you talked about like developing the characters. Do you feel like the men a little bit more now because of the development of the characters?
Most definitely. The only person that I feel like we still don't have a front seat in their lives is just a genius. He's done a great job at keeping his personal life out of the show. Right. Like we've seen wives, girlfriends, baby mamas, moms, dads, uncles, cousins, but nothing from him or his side, besides the fact that, him and RZA's related and that whole early music scene. So I'm hoping we get to see but I know we probably won't.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? I didn't think about that because everything we see from him is everything we already know, right? We already know about chess and the chew sticks, and we know all that. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything from him that I did not. I mean, I guess I can say that he has always had that thing where he's like, just stay focused, let's no violence, let's be chill. I love that part. Even when he called, to get the phone number, I love that part. But I want to see some back. I want to, what was home life like for him? That's the one thing that I feel like we're missing.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, we're gonna get into it. We're reviewing episode 5 entitled "A Better Tomorrow," an album I did not like. Doesn't mean I don't like the Wu, but it is what it is. And this episode, for the people watching, and again, I mean, I didn't say it up front, by now. Spoilers, right? If you haven't watched and you don't want to know, this is a review. We're going to talk about all of it. It's kind of a review and a recap at the same time. But this episode focused obviously a lot on You God, but also Inspector Deck and Master Killer. As far as the theme in general, I liked it, because I felt like, oh, they're going to shine a light on the lesser known Wu members,
Mhm.
even lesser known as far as the show goes, right? Because you kind of got glimpses of you guys. I mean, you really got into you guys' situation, but you got glimpses of them, right? Inspector Deck's life, but this was an episode where you really
And I feel
dug
like we
in.
got a little of mathematics, a little bit more of mathematics
Right,
there.
we got more. We got more. Oh
Little,
yeah, we did get more mathematics.
more of him.
Yeah, he's not just
How
handing
they
over
threw him in was
the
weird.
logo. What'd you say?
How they threw him in was weird. In the beginning, how
Right,
he's just kind of like, what? Like
right,
a gun toting DJ. Come on, y'all. Like,
right. DJ, like, oh, here y'all go. Here go the logo. I just be drawing shit.
right.
Here y'all go. No, you're right, but I think that's what I like most about it. But let's just get right to the beginning. You know what happened at the end of episode 4 with you guys' son getting shot, and how did you feel about how that whole scene, as far as you God's storyline in the beginning of this episode, played out?
So I wasn't sure we was gonna see it because I definitely heard about it or
Mhm.
knew that that his son was shot. So I was surprised, but I was excited because I feel like as a front, you God has always been the one that was like less dramatic, I guess. Like he had his interviews and he said things here or there, but when it came to emotion and he just always seemed like the one that was just like stoic, like, you go, you know what I'm saying? I've taken pictures with him. He's all like, when every picture, like he's just hard. And so that gave him some character to me. It made me soften up when it came to him. And I feel like that was at a pivotal point in his life, period. Like it was
Yeah,
pivotal for Wu-Tang, yes, because then he started writing and, whatever. But that was a pivotal point for him as a man. Looking at it, I think as a woman having a child, my daughter was my world even before she came into this life. Like
right.
there was something attachment. I feel like with men, it's a little different. It's
Mhm.
something happens or they're just not as nurturing as women are, right?
Right, right.
So seeing that, I don't know. I feel like his son is probably his best friend now. Like if you ask,
Mm,
he's probably been there around. You know what I mean? Like
right.
it feel like it changed his life for me. And I
Yeah,
was like, like as if it was my child. Like no, having that moment
right.
that was hard. That was hard to watch.
I think everybody kind of felt that way, and especially if you have children,
Yes.
even if your children are older, you can only imagine your kid being that small and something like that happening. And thank God he survived. As far as the show, I thought I liked the fact that they were taking time to address it. I don't know if I like the execution as far as the direction goes, because it felt a little like scene to scene as opposed to a
Like
thread that's this,
yeah.
this thing that's happening. I mean, but that's nitpicking. Because honestly, I was like you said, right? You put yourself in their shoes, and I'm like, if I'm on the phone and it's like, oh, my son's okay. Oh, the guy who shot him's right here. I'll be right there, baby. Hold on. Let me get this dude real quick because he's not getting away. You know.
We going for it. I don't
Right,
care.
right, right. Oh, you okay now? Okay, I'll be there in a little bit. Okay. You know, but but like you said, man of character, hearing his son's voice changed his mind, um, changed his life, right? Whether that's real or for the show or whatever, it refocused him. And you're right, it kind of gave him a, a, a I guess at this point, because in the first 2 seasons, to your point, like how Jizza, we don't really know anything about his personal life that much. Everybody else got a lot of character development. You God didn't, and his
He was just
family,
there. He just showed up, right?
right? He just showed up. Look, even when the season started, he was just in the pool for 24 hours a day, and it was like, okay, that's what he does. But I think this kind of gave him a better dynamic going forward. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought it was dope, and I'm glad they they kind of close it out the way they did. Now, let me ask you this, because this has been an ongoing theme this season. I know how I felt back then. Inspector Deck's solo album that wasn't. I like the fact that they keep harping on it, because that kind of was what was happening. But how did you feel at the time? Were you waiting on Inspector Deck solo?
Yeah, I was, and I probably would have been if I ever saw him like dude when he hopped off the bus, like, hey, where's the album? Like, I'm that
Right,
tired.
right.
So I was, and I felt sad for him because he had that moment to actually show who he was, and he didn't take it. And it kind of reminded me of the New Edition story and how they did Ralph.
Right,
Like,
right,
how are you the least successful member of the group?
right.
So yeah, it was a little sad. It's still sad, and I know we're gonna see more of it, and it's like, oh, they're really gonna touch on this. I thought they would gloss over it because I don't know with their inner workings and stuff. I don't know. I just thought they would gloss over it. I was hoping so because it hurt my heart to watch that part. Like to
Yeah,
know
it's kind of
it
been
was
a
done and the blood, like, oh.
that damn flood. It's like, oh man.
That's like me writing a press release, which I've done that,
Mm-hmm.
and ran it through Grammarly and it deleted it. But it was just one, and it was fresh off my mind. I just rewrote it, and I felt like it was better. But a whole album,
A whole album. And
and
you know
I
what's so
know,
crazy about that is, at the time I was ready for everything, right? So
yeah,
it was like, boom, you got the group, then you got well, you didn't get Purple Tape yet, but then you wound up getting Dirty album, Method Man album, uh Jizza's album, and then you get Purple Tape, and it was like Inspector Deck was next. Like he was next to most people. Like, all right. And plus, he has some of the most memorable verses out the Wu of all time in hip hop.
he did.
And his album didn't come out until 99. And it wasn't the only group member or clan member was You God. He was the only one that was featured on it. And it's just sad to constantly see this, where it's like, damn, y'all gonna do this again. The Tales from the Hood thing, I forgot about.
I did too until I saw it.
Yeah,
And then the way they staged it, I was like, he had a moment. Because I feel like if he would have taken that moment and it would have just been him, that album would have came out sooner.
yeah,
It would have been different.
yeah, man.
And it's almost as if like maybe RZA didn't know what to do. Like
I think the machine started moving too quick at that point, because remember they were talking about, oh well, RZA got this project. He got this project.
When he asked them, he was like, "You want to get in the studio? You want to go in the lab?" When they came off tour, so it was kind of like partly. It felt like it was like partly they were trying to make it his fault.
Mm.
Like I asked him to go in the studio. He could have just been on the song by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's how I felt. Like, oh, it's all him. It's his fault. Like that's
right. It's
Man.
so terrible because the anticipation was there, and for him to come out in 99, and now you've already had, you've had people with second solos and a second Wu album. His Triumph verse should have been the setup of the century, but came out. For those who don't know, it's called Uncontrolled Substance, the album that eventually came out in 99. It is not what we keep crying about. I'll just let y'all know that it's only what we could have imagined is what makes it crazy, especially RZA around that time. Master Killer, right? So they come off the tour bus. Ray was like, yo, you shouldn't be getting a whole cut. He only got one verse with the Wu. He kind of fills in but out. Then you see him go back to the block, which I assume is Brooklyn because he's from Brooklyn. And it's like a secret. Did you know all this stuff about Master Killer? Like,
I did not know. I've heard he was a killer. I've heard he was the shooter. I've heard that
mm,
a million
okay,
and one times. And so him being inconspicuous makes sense.
right,
It
right,
also makes sense why the fuck we didn't know who the fuck he was. Like
right,
you go down the list and you start counting the Wu-Tang members. Okay, who is it again? He's always the one that I forget.
yeah,
Always. I'll tell you this. I'm so embarrassed. So Wu-Tang with Snoop a couple years ago. Me and my girlfriend went, and of course, it's a lot of them on the stage. You know how they
right.
do. And so I'm looking, and I was like, "Damn, he's cute. Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that's Master Killer, girl. Bye." Like what? You forgot he was there again.
Oh, damn, that's crazy. Well, look, don't feel too bad because the first episode of this season, when they were all in the house, I kept saying to myself, "Who the fuck is that?" Until they was like, "Yo, Killer." I was like, "Oh, that's supposed to be Master Killer." Oh shit! Like, damn, I can't even recognize the actor. Uh,
They kind of just threw him in there because even now with this episode, it made me think. Even the bus scene last episode, like where did he even come from? Like I mean, he's kind of there in spaces or whatever, but you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like they
What?
set it
What?
up to be forgotten again.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? What?
This is
What I
there.
found dope about it, or about his whole storyline, was that he has this real musical family who
Right.
sings.
So I
And
did see an interview. I think he did with Vlad, where he said he was related to Nat Turner and Marvin Gaye, and then his uncle
yeah,
did say Uncle Marvin in the
yep,
show.
did
So I was
say
like, oh, okay, they done added that in there. That's cute,
right,
but it's still mute. Like,
right. It's like, okay, yeah, you start thinking about those Master Killer verses, like, okay.
so
I
I
did
started thinking about his verses, and they're still lukewarm to me. I hope you don't come get me.
well, I will say this with him, I mean, I like the storyline, and I know he's released things over the years, but I remember watching one interview with him, how he kind of just started rhyming for the most part. And that's why his flow was the way it was, even though they liked it and he kept it that way. Because he kind of has like he's not in the pocket at all. He
Mm-mm.
just spits his
Just
verse.
talking.
Right. And it makes, for me at least, he sounded really raw. Like, nah, I don't like this. It's offbeat. But I didn't know he like had just started rhyming for the most part. And Jizza liked him. And I think he liked him because you could tell Master Killer's smart by even just the way he puts his rhymes together. I may not like the flow, but I was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, you get a little history from him there, and I don't know if that's going to make people go and listen to Master Killer. It might.
He
Uh,
could have been like the speaker of the group.
the
Like,
speak,
you know what I'm saying? Like he could just talks through the intro or the outro, or you know what I'm saying, give us some, drop knowledge on the record. That's cool. He didn't have to rap though.
right,
He
right.
didn't have to rap. Like,
All
but
right,
I understand seeing it coming from a musical background family when his mom was talking to him about his cousins and family members that were doing stuff. I can imagine what that felt like. So okay, here we are. You're here though. You're here. He made
right,
it.
right.
Made the cut. He made it into the Wu-Tang Clan.
He made the best of his situation.
Yeah.
Uh, now the
Mhm.
Wu Wear store. You ever visited the Wu Wear store? I'm from New York. I have not ever. So.
So I was reminded of a friend that I have been to the one that was in Atlanta.
Mm,
It was
okay.
like popular when I first moved out here at one point.
Mm,
But it's so long. That's so long ago.
right, right. What did you think about the I guess because it's hard to, I guess they were just showing that they have a store now and it's open. That part does feel really quick because 1 minute they off the bus with the shirts and he's hustling to get it, but you don't really see enough of power in Divine. Even though they every time they mention Wu, where power was, I mean, Divine was looking a little like he wasn't feeling something.
That's what we want to do.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. He gave us that look. So the Woolworth store, I feel like we could have definitely gotten more behind it. I mean, we got some tidbits with the guy selling the shirts and Power pulling him
Right.
up and so forth. So we got some tidbits of it. We know Power's family, had the store, whatever. But I want to know, like, the footwork, like, why that location, you know what I'm saying? Give us a little bit more, because that's honestly, it's beyond pivotal, like, because it still exists. Like, Woolwear is still a thing. Like, Power still goes on the road. He's still making, the merch. Like, that's a huge part of it. So I like they did do the little drops. Like, we like the Yankees. Okay, now.
Right.
And then when the Inspector Deck's girlfriend said the street name and comment, okay, now, okay, I got it. Y'all spoke a little something into, y'all spoke that into existence or put it out there that you were speaking in this way to existence. Love it. But I do wish we could have seen a little bit of the network, because I've met Power. I've had conversations with him. He's phenomenal when it comes to this. Like, this is, he still breathes that, and so I think that was cool that they showed it, but I really would have loved to, like, delve into it a little more, because, like, you saw the caramel delight shirt. Like, come on, like, talk to us a little bit about it, because at that point, like, how was that shirt out though when Red Ghost didn't have a record yet? That's one thing I did notice though. I was like,
that's what I was wondering.
Huh?
I was wondering about that. Like, so they had the shirts before the song, like, or they just wanted to show us, all the merch ahead of
I don't
time.
know, like, but I would like to have known, like, was that something that they talked about? Was before Ice Cream became a song? Is that how they, talked about the shorties? Yeah, the vanilla over here. I mean, we have seen that they had a nice, colorful array of women come through. So, like, did it come before that? Like, give us some backstory. Did they have women merchandise in that first store at that moment? Like, I have questions. I have a lot of questions, but I was happy to see it, and I was also happy to see Mathematics as being the DJ in the store. I'm not sure if that's how their relationship took it to the next level of him being their tour DJ. I don't know, but I don't know if they were just trying to fit it all in to give it to us. But I wish that we could slow this down, because I feel like Deck, Killa, and You God all deserve, like, at least one whole episode like we've seen everybody else get so far. They deserve it. Jizza too.
Honest.
Jizza too. They deserve it. They have their own back, story, something, not all mashed up into one. That's what I would have, if I could have had some sort of input, I would have said, hey, can we break this up? Because there's some things that we're missing.
Yeah, because I like the idea of showing the store. Okay, they got the store now, but it did feel kind of like highlights after a while. Like, okay, we need to get these things out the way before we focus on, what's to come.
Right. And then they ended it on like that. I was like, wait, come on, man.
That's let's get into it, because that was the thing, right? Obviously that end was like a tease to what's to come. But what did you think about his what's her name? Sherry pulling up, right? Playing the Biggie.
Yeah, she playing Biggie in front of the Wu store and like
right.
No man. No man. I'm apologizing to all the men in the world for that, because us girls do stuff like that all the time and not realize. Like, she was just in the moment enjoying the song, like, yes, this is the jam that's out right now. Hey, but in hindsight, she was breaking down English and didn't even catch it. Like, them girls was like, wait, what is this? Who is this? What?
Well,
We
well,
don't
they
listen
kind
to
of got an unfair rule though, right? Like, yo, only play
listen to
Wu
us.
shit. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not, I could not follow that rule. It's like, nah, we're not gonna do that.
Not only that, I don't like listening to myself. So I probably wouldn't even watch this back, right? I'm that person. So I can't even imagine having to listen to myself or my group members like 24/7. I mean, if I'm studying audio for, I don't know, I'm recording and this is a, track for me and I'm listening or whatever, yeah, but
Mm,
24/7, 365, no.
right.
And how many albums they had at the time? She said three albums?
Yeah,
No.
like 3 or 4.
Because she
Like, yeah,
said Woo, Meth, and I think she
and
said Dirty. She was tired of
dirty.
listening to Dirty.
Right.
I mean,
You know what was dope about it is that's exactly what was happening in New York. Like, it was like 1 minute it was Midnight Marauders and the Woo, and all we cared about was the Woo, and then all of a sudden Bad Boy was like pushing them off to the side a little bit. I think the collaborations helped because then they kind of grew together at the same time as opposed to Bad Boy supplanting the Woo. Uh, but the setup for Ray saying, it's got to be us, you know,
it's a
and
nice
we,
setup. And I mean, wasn't it rumored that they had beef with Biggie anyway? So
yeah,
it only made sense.
according to Nas, Raekwon and Biggie didn't like each other, but they probably didn't like each other because they were alike. So
Like I see, like I could so see it. I could so see it. I could see them not liking each other because they are
yeah, and
like
there's probably a
like
little
low key, like the smart guy, you know?
right, right,
Like we'll say a comment that you're like, what?
right, right.
I really want to fuck you up, but it's you. So I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it slide. I'm gonna let it slide.
That's
Like,
the crazy part too, because when you think about Only Built for Cuban Links, I mean that Shark Biter skit said it all. It was like, oh, they talking about Bad Boy. Oh, they don't like them. So that kind, and the Mad Rapper was kind of an answer to that,
okay.
right?
Music back then, I wish we could recreate some of these feelings because it was like we said it and we kept it on wax. Like they
Mm,
didn't like each other, cool. They might have just it kept it moving. You know what I'm saying? You
right,
know they wasn't gonna fight. You know what I'm saying? They weren't gonna pull guns out
right,
on each
right.
other. And so this is reminding me of like how life used to be. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I couldn't go home and Google the record. Like I had to either go to the store or turn that radio on and wait all day until the song came
Right.
on, like depending on what song it was. And I think it's the nostalgia of it that makes it hype. Like they did this in a time period where there was no streaming. It wasn't just on your phone. It wasn't just easy to get to. Like I think that is what does it for me when I remember like what this was like and what they had to go through to get there. And I think that that's the difference between the music now. And I know you didn't ask that question, but it just made me think
Oh, that's
between
a
now
great
and then
question.
because like we really like our artists really went through some stuff. Like hip hop wasn't the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like to see
Right.
they have family members and friends that were, supporting them, mothers,
Hmm.
girlfriends, go for it. Like that's not a lot of people's story. So at the end of the day, I do appreciate the fact that we're being able to see like, nah, like this wasn't just us coming together and forming this. It was a lot of components that made it this way.
Right.
And this was all that was happening while I was
Right.
going on. And thinking all these other people from New York dropping, like to New York, y'all were figuring out which barrel was the hottest. And the rest of the world is just getting dope music.
Yeah, I think like a testament to what you're saying is you being in Germany and just kind of seeing people talking about a record that you didn't know who they were, never heard of them before, and you were hyped because they were hyped. But it's dope how that spread because it was the same feeling, like even within the city, um, with the Woo, with Bad Boy. Like, it was a great time. And like you said, when you look at Inspector Deck, right? Previously, you could have just tweeted at him like, yo, when your album coming out? This dude was
Right,
like, the bus is showing up on this date at this time. I'm going to go ask him. You know what I mean? So
right.
people don't understand. It's kind of like the gift and the curse now, because now you have more access to more artists, especially independent artists and music. But at the same time, some of the magic of your imagination playing into some of what you're listening to or looking forward to when it comes to some of this music. Now, let me ask you this before we wrap up: the fashion. What do you think about the fashion on this show?
So I was really paying attention this particular episode because when they had those cars riding through the street, like I really paid attention to the cars.
Right,
They were so spot on, even to what Cherie had on when she hopped out the car.
right, right,
The
right,
hair, her hair, because we watched her hair, because with the exception of what Divine's girlfriend, I forgot what her name was.
oh, right,
Um,
right,
she's the only woman that we've been consistently seeing. We see Divine girlfriend like what every other episode or whatever. And
mhm,
then Nia, I think it was her name. Her hair has changed, some. She had
right.
but Cherie had the finger wave, the tilt bob. She took us through it. But the highlight Ghost and Ray and those Wu-Tang jackets, I don't even know
Right,
if they were out then. But they
the
had the
matching
matching jacket.
jacket,
I was like, oh yeah, this is it.
right,
They could definitely have pulled up to the spot with the matching jackets. RZA with the golds and the
yep,
diamond fronts with the little sideburns. Like
right.
it's definitely they tried it. They definitely tried. The Call Kanai, like when do we see Call Kanai? Did they make that? Because that looked fresh going Inspector Deck.
Right, you have to go to Salvation Army or something, pick up
Yeah,
like,
he got like it was fresh looking. Like they made that possibly. What else did I see that I liked from the fashion? Everybody else, I feel like it's just we didn't get to it this episode, but the ghost face in that daggone last episode with the robe.
the robe. Yeah,
Well, Cherie stayed hating on him. She hated on him when he said his name was Ghostface Killer, and she definitely hated on him with the outfit. She said no to both.
right, and that kind of became his trademark, the robe.
And he still did it. Regular smuggler, regular road.
I wondered about that too. I was like, did he have the robes on that early, like in their career? But maybe he did, and he didn't do photo shoots with it. But yeah, the fashion on this show is spot on, because when Cherie stepped out the car playing Bad Boy,
The little
she
outfit.
looked she looked like everybody in my neighborhood at that time.
She did.
Um, I mean,
Reminded me of me. I felt like I had that skirt.
right, right,
That was the leopard phase right there. Boy, we was into it. I felt like I had it.
right,
Probably did. That was it. And that also too, like, that was the coming of age for us, right? Because by then we was coming out of Morgan, becoming adults. So we had
right,
that crossover between the rough and the bad boy
right.
dancing saga. It's our fault. We created these people. That's out to
Right, right.
that.
That's the dope part about it too. I think for us in particular, and even some people who, like my sister's 2 years younger than me, even from their age, because they saw that beginning at early '90s and what it was into the late '90s, where it was shiny suit time and all that good stuff. But
Because we was growing up at that point.
mhm.
We were
Yeah,
becoming
it's
adults.
pretty dope. I mean, the nostalgia's there, but even if you're somebody who's younger and you don't know, you've only heard about this time. They're pretty accurate for the most part with everything they're doing. It's a good representation of the '90s for sure, especially for hip hop.
I
So,
agree. My 16-year-old cousin watches and we
hmm,
go back and forth when we talk. He loves it. he has his mom watching it now. And I'm like, well, what do you like about it? He was like, it's just cool, like seeing Black men do something that was alternative to being in the streets. And I was like,
right.
oh, wow. I guess I didn't look at it like that from a young, you know what I'm saying? Because I knew the story. But yeah, so it's like for him, it's empowering. Like they chase their dreams, and he's like RZA just his focus, like after like the Attila thing, and then the murder over there. It was just like his focus was like, I gotta be better than this. And his was happenstance. It wasn't like he was out there intentionally trying to be a killer. But yeah, the way he picked that up, it made me feel like. I get the American Saga part. I didn't get it at first, but I get it now because it's like this is definitely different. The difference. This is our American dream. How we flip. So I like that. I like it now. At first, I was like American Saga. Like what is going on? But having that conversation with my cousin, and then he has friends that watch it and into it. I tried to get my daughter into it, but she wasn't budging.
My kids. Nah, they're good.
She likes De La Soul though.
Oh, she does.
Hey, Spider-Man, the magic number being a Spider-Man. She's been playing that since.
Oh, right.
It's heavy in rotation for her. So when their album came out the other day, albums on streaming, I was like, here you go, you can listen to the whole album and then going back and forth talking about 3 Feet High Rise, and I was like, this is dumb stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I think that's what it is for me, though. The fact that I'm watching the show, back to making it make sense or why I brought it up, but watching the show and seeing that there are youth that are having a front seat to some things that we lived through, I like it. I enjoy that part about it. Like I know it's a fan show for sure, but there are people that are watching who weren't thought of or weren't even fans or are fans now because of the show, and I love that part.
And I think the show has done a great job of making it entertaining as a show. So if, like us, you grew up in it, we're going to spin those albums once or twice again. We're going to, live through it again. But those who don't know, they're going to go to the Googles. They're going to go to YouTube. They're going to go to the streaming services because now they have some context behind the artists and the music. So it's working all the way around, and for hip hop in general, right? Like the Wu is not just this thing that maybe the media paints it. It's so much deeper than that. And
I'm a fangirl again. It made me a fangirl again, like real talk. Yeah. Wait, oh my God, we forgot one important part.
What's that?
I Better Tomorrow. They with the hook.
Now this is the thing. This is the thing with the damn store, right? The store is just magic. They're just like, okay, she got an ice cream shirt on, but we don't even know if the damn song is out or they made it yet. And now here they are, and this is like what? Probably like 95, 94, and they're singing the hook to a title that'll be on an album in the 2000s, but the hook to a song that's on Wu-Tang Forever, which was in 97. Based off of it worked for the story, but what did you think when you saw them all of a sudden just decide to make the hook?
I was like, y'all playing with my face. Because I've never been at a grand opening of anything and seen people like, hey, we want to put this hook together in the corner, but
a star-studded grand opening, by the way. You got Rain Ghost outside, you got Master Killer inside.
Yeah, that part. But I will say this. I think that there's fan moments. Because you had to be a fan, you had to know the music, even know what was going on, or even catch that whole thing. Like I was like, okay, y'all cute. I'm more worried about what's going on outside at this point.
I'm looking like, all right, when we get
go back to this, because this right here, we could have saved this for later. Like we couldn't. they could have put that in the whole when they were making A Better Tomorrow. That could be season 4. I don't know. But I'm curious to see I know what the next episode is going to be, of course, to the teaser, but I'm curious to see how they play this out.
Yeah, because to your point from earlier, they're kind of breezing through.
Oh, come on, they gotta slow this down. Like, give us the making of this album slowed down, kind of like they did Protecting That. Give us that. You know what I'm saying? Not
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All the little matching elements of the making the beats, but just slow it down a little bit.
Right.
Please. Because what? How many episodes are we getting? Are we getting 10 or 12?
Maybe 10 or 12, because on Hulu you can't see, the only episode you can see that's coming is the next episode. I guess they're going to split the season in half. I hope so.
I'm just not ready. I'm not ready for it to be over. I'm not ready for it to be over. I really am not. Maybe I could write Rizzo a letter,
right,
and ask him. But depending on how far they go, this season it might be a wrap. Because I'm not gonna lie. Last season I was cool. I was like, if it ends, I'm fine. And then we got the flood. I was like, the flood, But I would have been fine. So maybe they'll find a way to just close it out where you're like, okay, I'm fine, without it coming back. But
you know what I think is going to happen, because I already started thinking about it. I was like, we're going to end with Wu-Tang Forever. Like, because it just sounds like the title of the final episode. The world tour, everybody's on it. It's before, Dirty dies and all that. And it's like everybody's together. It's also the last really good Wu group album. But I could see them ending something like that on a world tour, on a stage, all of them, all the fans. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. And speaking of, you know what I could be mad at? Why we couldn't see Meth writing All I Need? Why we didn't get
that? Right. Wait, before we end, there's a real shortage of Method Man in this. What we 5 episodes in. What do you think is happening? Is it Dave East availability? Is it
possibly that? But possibly that's around the time when Meth was MIA to them.
True.
Like after Takal, how long was it before How High was a thing, and that was a whole different ball.
It was right in the same pocket, because remember they did the what was it called, the Month of the Man or whatever, Redman and Method Man. They had already kind of paired them, and then they had How High. That was How High came out like 95. So
I'm thinking that's what we're getting. Like for those of us who know, because at that point he was all over the place. They was rocking jock baseball games and concerts and blah blah blah. Because they were on what was that, Hard Knock Life? Were they on Hard Knock Life? Wasn't that Hard Knock Life? Did they open up
the show?
Yeah, the tour. Yeah, so I think all of this stuff is coming. But I want them to talk about that stuff. Like, that stuff was what? Them Def Jam tours was stupid. Like, can we talk about those?
Right. I mean, probably not now. Final season. They probably just trying to.
Like, I wish I was like somewhere. Like, hey. Can I write an episode or something? Like, can we slow this down? Because like we want it, but at least we got it.
Yeah.
After season 1, I'm sure a lot of us was like, I don't know how this gonna go. What's gonna happen? But season 2 was perfect. It was perfect. So I wish they could have slowed it down like this, because we literally got to see so much. But anyway, we could go on for days and days on what it could have been. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I'm sad. I can't say it enough that it's ending. Like, I feel like we have enough for 5 seasons for real.
Yeah,
the Wu broke that all down.
The Wu got so much story to tell. It's not even funny. And even as like individuals and
Capadonna, like, he's still in jail, right?
Yeah, he's probably going to show up in the next episode. Now
he got to.
Yeah, because he's on ice cream. So
He gotta show up, but we haven't seen him since when the last time? I think that was season 1, right? When he was rapping
Yeah, when they
Rumor
was
Wars
in
in
jail.
jail.
Yeah. But
All right.
that's the crazy part. He's gonna pop up and I'm gonna be sitting there like, who the fuck is that? Like, oh, that's Capadonna. Okay. I feel like they sneak in a new character every 5 minutes. You're like, who's that?
Because originally, the one guy, Jay somebody, that was killed in the first season, I honestly thought that he was You God or was going to
Yeah,
be
me
You God.
too. Yep.
And then they wrote it out and he died. I was like, oh, okay, that's not him. So I really did think that we would have seen more of him sooner, but it's okay. And then who are we missing? We missing somebody.
From the group
Mm-hmm. Who
who
are we missing somebody? That we haven't really gave any conversation for. Oh wow.
or sometimes these shows could do a really good job of leaving someone out. Well, shows and movies, and you forget until after the fact. Like Straight Outta Compton, I totally forgot about Arabian Prince until he did interviews afterwards, and I was like, oh yeah, he wasn't even in the damn movie. What's happening? Uh, but you're so focused on the people that you forget he's right there on the early cover. Like,
And they kind of he was there like body wise because they put him on an early cover. Like it wasn't like they like erased him off. Like it was the early cover. He
right.
physically kind of sort of a body, but they just didn't talk about it. Yeah. And JJ Fad, that was a huge part that was left
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Like even just having somebody just, oh, that's supposed to be JJ Fad. They don't have no lines, but they're in the room. But we'll see. It'll be interesting because when you think about these episodes coming up and the stories and especially what they're building towards, are you going to see Biggie? Are you going to see Redman? Are you going to see Nas? Like there's it's starting to get to the point where, we should see some of these people. If we've seen Puff and what was supposed to be Buster, uh, I mean, they might be holding back now. Like, whoa, they're killing us for these damn these other artists. We might have to chill. But
And even how so please help me with that because that I did have a question about that and I had not asked anybody. What was Buster's relationship to them at that time? Because the way they introduced him made it seem like there was some sort of relationship or friendship or something.
Yeah,
They just threw him in there.
Yeah, they kind of just threw him in there. I assumed he was trying to get production from RZA. Like maybe they did shows or something like that before, so they kind of knew each other. But I was assuming like, okay, well, maybe they're trying to get production because remember when he said, "Yeah, I want to get Old Dirty on the song," and Old Dirty was on the Wu-Ha remix with him. So I assumed it was something like that, like Buster trying to get production, so that's why he's here. But it
And
was
are we
so
going to see Redman?
you got to see Redman. Like now, they call Redman based off of this Mathematics album that he did for the Wu, which was actually really dope. They call Redman the next because I'm losing count. The 10th member of the Wu now.
I think he's 11th.
Oh
Wait,
damn!
this is just an old dirty bastard expecting that Raekwon is Chef Ghostface. Emaciation Man, Capadonna, Master Killer, maybe I don't know because I feel like I might have missed them.
Right.
So years ago, shout out to Feet Scene. They did the 25th anniversary of 36 Chambers. We put Redman on that show purposely.
Right.
Purposely. Yeah, that was. I'm gonna say that was probably one of the best shows I've ever been to and worked. Redman was on the stage, and Rachel, who owns Feed the Scene, was looking for him to pay him. So he went out without that back end. He got it when he finished.
That's dope.
Yeah, like there was Man, that was a show.
And that was when the project was out. Damn, what's it called? Wu-Tang Saga Begins. Hold up, I gotta look it up.
Yeah, after that, all of the that project came out, and then the documentary came out. Documentaries started to come out.
Oh right,
yeah, Mics and Men came out like a couple months after that show.
The saga continues. That's what it was called.
Did you like that?
Yeah, it was the best Wu album in years, if you ask me. It came out in 2017. Mathematics did the production, but everybody was on it.
I feel like that was like songs left over from that album that we didn't get. The one that was sold.
It definitely sound a little vintage. I think that's why I liked it. But it definitely, you could tell it wasn't like some brand new out the gate joint. Like they digging in the vault now, and Redman's all on it. For those who want to know, actually, I think he was on the cover. Let me look at that again. Was he on the cover? I think he was also on the cover.
Yes, Mathematics is there, DJ for Red.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
for the longest. It was like Math had Mathematics and Redman had DJ Dice, and they would battle or whatever. But the last few times I've seen them, it was just Mathematics. So makes sense. There's relationships. So yeah, if we don't see Redman, I would feel some kind of way.
A good Redman.
A good Redman.
Don't just go get somebody like.
Wait, never mind. Maybe we don't need to see him because if he's not a good one, I would be mad.
Right.
Like, the guy who plays RZA sounds like him, doesn't really look like him, but everybody else, I feel like they hit the mark.
Right.
Yeah. I was a little mad about Joey Badass when he stopped playing that. But I like this new guy. He studied him. Like he holds his head like him.
Right.
He makes faces like him. Like it's times where I'm like, dang, like that's really making me feel like old dad.
Right.
I ain't gonna lie. So I'm glad about that. And Joey Badass, I like you as Unique.
Yeah, that's the better role.
Thank you for moving on.
That is the better role for him because he's killing it. All right, y'all. Well, what did y'all think about this past episode 5 of Wu-Tang and American Saga? Did you like the episode? Are you looking forward to the whole Purple Tape episode, which I heard is supposed to be a 90s gangster flick style? We'll just have to see what that means because we know what it could mean. Give them all your info where they can follow you and all that good stuff.
So I am Nika Watkins on Twitter and Instagram. Nika Watkins on Facebook. You can follow me. Oh, and TikTok. I TikTok. I do hip hop.
You be dancing and shit.
Hip hop.
Yeah, y'all. I'm just gonna let y'all know right now. You ain't gonna never see me do it. Maybe if I had a daughter, I'd probably do it, for her. But
yeah, I do old school hip hop dances, like Heavy D and the Boys type.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
right. You know I'm lying, right?
Right.
Oh, look at me dancing. I'm not dancing, but I'm on there watching people dance.
All right, y'all will follow her, and you can follow the podcast at Vegas World INC on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. All you got to do is type in the words Hip Hop Now Podcast, hit subscribe, and stay locked in to hip hop content like this. Till next time, y'all. We're not critics. We're fans of all of this. Peace.